I am early and hope you guys are doing extremely well. Look, tonight I will go through all the stuff, but look, we're going to go into it tonight. It has come out today, and we spoke about it a week and a half ago. Nobody was talking about it. We mentioned it on here, and we were expecting some more news. This is a follow-on from the story that we did on here, that United will say that they will fund this stadium themselves, the 2 billion stadium themselves. This is what has come out tonight. They will not be using taxpayers' money. The taxpayer will not have to foot the bill for the Glazers. And I wanted to start there. I think tonight this is a win. I think this is a win on many ways tonight. I think this is a win for the country. Look, these cretins, these I'm just trying to think of a word where I don't have to swear. These awful people are not going to be funded by the taxpayer. So I think tonight is a win for football. Look, as much as I would love to have a stadium paid for by other people, I would never expect, and I'd feel very embarrassed and very, very uncomfortable to have a stadium paid for by you, the hardworking, and by me, the tax people. Now, whatever club you support tonight, and these Glazers are the cretins that were trying to take us into a Super League. The same cretins who were trying to make football fans, irrespective of where you were from, buy them a stadium. So look, I think tonight that is a win, and we'll go through that topic. Again, the United fan says, big up, bro, hope you're well. I am doing extremely well, my friend, and hope you are too. So look, tonight's show, look, I'm going to go through the stuff, and I think it's really, really important because today there is so much transfer stuff today, and we can go into that as well. I just want to go through the stadium stuff because this impacts it. Respect for Salah, says Ray. And look, I think Ray is right there. Look, Salah, what an absolute, sorry, I was, that no problem at all, mate. People change the name all of the time. I'm going to call you the United fan. Look, Mohamed Salah is going to leave Liverpool at the end of the season. What a fantastic player. What a fantastic servant. Obviously he is going to go to a different league. 33 years old. I've got to give him some respect. No. I mean, no. As there are many reasons why I wouldn't. I think number one reason for me would be, well, obviously because he's never going to do it, and two, I want to move away. If we had a team full of stars, you could maybe have one of those talks around a pub and be like, but no. So look, we are going to get into it tonight. And the first thing to say is, look, welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, I'm JB. And look, get into this amazing community, onto this amazing platform. This is the best community on this platform. The only thing that we do ask is be respectful to the community, be respectful to me, and be respectful to yourselves as well, as I'm starting to find out many people in this world are not very, very nice, but that is exactly what happens. But look, as long as you respect each other, otherwise the ban hammer comes out. I don't like doing it, but we absolutely will. And look, I'm not a dictator of this chat. You guys know that I have some very, very strong opinions on stuff. Doesn't mean that my opinion's right, by the way. It's just an opinion. It is my view, and I know it frustrates people at times. With my view is my view. Sometimes I will change it if I'm wrong. Sometimes I won't. We definitely need new owners, JB. We will never win anything. I couldn't agree more. We absolutely do need some new owners. So look, so what has come out today? What has transpired today? Now, what has transpired today is this. So we spoke about Ray said, hot take, don't rate Haaland. I think many people would agree with you, Ray. as you've asked the question, as you've told me your hot take, I'll give you my opinion on it. Haaland is a specialist player. I think Roy Keane was spot on with what he said about Haaland. He said about Haaland is a League One player, but if you put him inside that box, he is the best striker. Is he one of the best of all time? No, but Haaland is a specialist. That's what he is. And I agree with this. I rate him, but he's been more trash than a landfill. He's just not good on the ball. And Haaland is a specialist striker. He is Haaland is not one of those players who is like a Rooney. He's not one of those players who's an all-round superstar player. All right, he's a specialist. But where I would agree in the chat is well, let me tell you something. If you put Haaland up front for us, would he improve us a little bit? But there's no point in putting a striker up front unless you give balls to a Haaland. Haaland couldn't do as he said there. He couldn't do what an Aguero does. So Haaland does improve teams, but I think he only improves a certain team, and you have to play in a particular way. But look, that's for City to be concerned about. Ray says, I have my reasons. I think he's selfish and he's not a team player. Get Big Pat in, says Luke Green legends. I hope you're doing extremely well as well there, Luke. So look, what are we? So he's Ruud van Nistelrooy. You clearly never watched Ruud van Nistelrooy. You clearly never watched. You clearly never watched him then, because Ruud van Nistelrooy, if you watched him, you would never have said that. Ruud van Nistelrooy. Haaland is not a patch on Ruud van Nistelrooy. I'm not sure. Look, I don't know how old you are, but I'm telling you now, if you're comparing Ruud to Haaland, completely different play. But look, that's your view. We've all got our view. So what are we talking about tonight? So look, this is going to get absolutely. Then, mate, if you're 49 years old and you're comparing Haaland in terms of the play style to Ruud van Nistelrooy, did you have your eyes closed during the 2000s? I'm joking, by the way. So look, what are we talking about tonight? And look, this is very, very significant, and people are not going to I'm not going in that. Explain why he's different. Look, I'm not doing that tonight. Look, if that's something that you want to do, you go and make your show. I'm doing this show tonight. Maybe we'll talk about it at the back end of the show, but I'm not going to do it now. Yeah, Billy, I am, mate. I am treating you to 2 shows in a day. Look, it's something that I normally love to do. Work has been kicking my butt, because guess what, people, I do work as well. So I'm a busy man. So what has not been mentioned, and I should tell you for why it's not been mentioned enough, and I'll give you my opinion on it today, is because it doesn't serve people well to mention it. What has been put out there today, just look at Big Pat, JT. Trust me, he'll be in the Premier League. I promise you, Luke, I will look at it. I'm going to write it down, look at Big Pat, and then I'm going to start a petition. I'm going to start a petition to get in Big Pat into the Premier League. So today, what has been said? So it has come out today that, and this has been dropped, that United are going to 100% publicly fund the stadium. Now, I want to let that sink in today. This has been put out there the whole day, whilst people have been talking about Tonali, Bruno G, talking about all that stuff today. I want you to know in the background today, what has been put out there is that United are going to privately fund the stadium. £2 billion stadium. Luke says, just look at, yeah, I'll do that. There's Palace and West Ham interested also. Look, mate, if Big Pat comes into the Premier League, buddy, it's going to make me think of you in a good way. So what's been confirmed is this, that United are going to 100% fund the stadium, no taxpayer money. The government are not going to fund construction of the stadium either. The club have confirmed positive conversations with investors. Where are these sources? So this is likely to be private investors, institutions, potential partnerships, and naming rights for the stadium. And we will get onto those things just right there. The moment that the stadium gets started, we die as a club. And I agree with you. I have said this the moment that first shovel goes into the ground. I do think there is some hope. After hearing this today. And we can talk about the cost. So look, I wanted to talk about the government here. I think is going to be called Chad. I hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. Welcome to the show, buddy, and I hope you're having a good evening. Basically, the government have told Sir Jim AI Trafford. Look, right. If you were to name, look, the rights for the name of the club, well, the name of the stadium are going to be up, right? You tell me what you would call the stadium. The government tonight, or the government have told INEOS, Sir Jim, to go fuck themselves. That is what has happened. Keep the name Old Trafford. I don't think that's going to happen, mate. And that is why I do not want the stadium. I'm going to prefix the top of this show with, I do not want the stadium. The stadium, to me, represents what the Glazers have done to this club. It represents, instead of being custodians of this club and looking after the club and doing what good owners are supposed to do, they have come into this club, they've drained it, they've left it to go to be basically destroyed, to the point where we can't repair it and we now have to fund the stadium. So that representation to me of the stadium is basically one of owners who couldn't give a toss and wanted to come here for the money, and their long-term plan, it looks like is going to come true. But the one good thing is this tonight, and I've got to applaud the government. I've got to applaud. And I wonder, so Reece says, only one man can save us is CR7. And I wonder if Sir Jim's comments have had an impact on what has happened here. Because INEOS, the Glazers bringing in Sir Jim was a very, very bold move. And that to me was a significant move, because they brought him in to get the stadium done. I wonder if the recent comments, and you've got to think about this, Sir Jim, or Jim, because I know people don't like me to call him Sir Jim, he has basically come in and had a pop at Labour, and he's come in and had a pop at Sir Keir Starmer. Okay. And then lo and behold, those connections into the government haven't got the Glazers what they wanted. Hasn't got Sir Jim what it is that they wanted to do. So this government tonight have basically told Sir Jim and the Glazers to basically go do one. So tonight, I think, is a win. I think tonight is a win for United fans, and United fans maybe won't see it in that way. I think it's a massive win tonight for taxpayers. You know, imagine I know some people are comfortable with this. I'm not. Imagine having the stadium that's supposed to be yours, that's supposed to be built, and it's been funded on the backs of people. You've got these cretins all the way from the States, and I'm not saying that just because they're from the States. They are specific. The Glazers, they've come over, they barely pay a penny of tax. They've come over and they wanted you and I and other people who don't support the club to pay for the stadium. And the government tonight have put their foot down and they've told the Glazers to piss off. And I absolutely applaud that tonight. I 100% applaud that tonight. The fact that the government will not fund the stadium and the taxpayer won't, I think, is an absolute win. And look, I don't applaud the government at all for many things. And this is a very tiny win for us tonight. But I'm glad. Now look, the next thing is, where do we go from here? Well, I'm gonna read out your chat, and I want to know, where do we go from here as a club? Where do we go from here? The plan was to get taxpayers' cash to get the stadium built. That's not going to happen. My question to you is now, what happens next? I'll go through the chat and then we'll go through some more points. CR7 is, look, I don't know how CR7 comes back. Think about it. Old Trafford is a relic that's over 100 years old, and so-called fan will tear it down. Exactly. Old Trafford should be protected. As much as I will applaud the government's move tonight, I will also deplore them, because how can you have a stadium that is over 100 and you don't protect it? It is criminal. Chaz says they're making a new stadium in making a Bruno Fernandes end instead of this. Oh, I tell you what, if they make a Bruno Fernandes end, it will be embarrassing. Billy says the Trafford Arena, sir, Chelsea fan, agreed. Taxpayers shouldn't be paying anything for the stadium. JB, we only have hope, and that is the investors will tell them to shove it, and then they have no help. They will sell the club and F off. And look, I was going to bring that in towards sort of the end of the show, and I'll give you my view. I'm going to go through it, and I'll give you my view as I always do. And there are a couple of things that I said a couple of weeks ago. The funny thing about this channel is we do get fed some stuff, and there's a video that I did 2 weeks ago talking about this stuff. That's all. That is all I'm going to say on it. So look, they've confirmed. So the club have confirmed that there are positive conversations with investors. Who are these investors going to be? Let's walk through. Let's walk through the cost. So who are the investors? There is talk of these investors of Positivity Street, right? So the likely investors are going to be private investors, potential partnerships, potential naming rights of the stadium. All the clips. What's that? All the clips. Shut the F up, you little muppet. What's that? Not quite sure what's going on there, Scott. All of it? I had no idea there, mate. I missed that completely then, buddy. Scott is on it. Scott is in the house. Scott is the man. Scott is on it. Scott, I completely missed that, my friend. Harry's in the chat. What about if the government paid for it when they get ownership of it and leases it to the club to make a profit on the stadium? They're not going to do it, mate. They are not going to fund it. They're not going to fund the stadium. So it has come out tonight that the government are not going to fund the stadium. Look, could the government do that? Of course they could do, but they have said tonight that they are not going to put up the money to build the stadium needed. It's different for the Olympics, and there are a couple of things that I think that people have to know, right? Is number one, the reason why they did it, and the reason why West Ham were able to move into the Olympic site was because the timing was perfect. The government could get away with building a stadium for the Olympics, and then it needed a home. If you go across the world and you look at any Olympic events, any Olympic countries, and you go and you see the Olympic Village, if you go and look at, it is left to be destroyed. For West Ham, it was absolutely perfect. It was perfect, right? But the government, the optics for the government, can you imagine the government saying that we're going to build United a stadium? How would they spin that? If you look at, even from a political standpoint, and I'm not going to go into that, but if you look at the political standpoint now, as of austerity, taxes are the highest that they've been. There's a certain conflict happening now as well. Sir Jim, his comments about Labour, his comments on certain things as well. There is no way the government are going to be able to give him the money. There is just no way. There is just no way that this government can fund the stadium. So it's not going to happen. And I absolutely applaud that tonight. I really, really do. Are we going to sign Cole Palmer or not? No. Martin, no. There is a load of, again, I'm not going to go into it, but there is loads of content out there by certain people who love to talk about that sort of stuff. Look, do the math, and look, this new update on the stadium, it pisses over any transfer news right now. And the reason why people are not going to lead on this, can you imagine? Imagine this. Imagine if you're talking about the transfers, right? And you base all of your clicks on the transfer window. All of it, and I've seen it today. The amount of channels I've seen with the same content, transfer window this morning, transfer this evening, update, transfer, update, right? The same stuff, right? If they led with this today, their fucking shows are done. Their shows are done. And the reason is because United are going to have to fund the stadium. They're going to have to find £2 billion. The top of all this tonight, how are we going to fund 2 billion stadium and rebuild a squad? We now know tonight there is going to be no funding from the government. United will have to find a way to fund the stadium. How are they going to fund the stadium? How are they going to take that debt? Where are they going to put that debt? And that's what I want to talk about tonight. Where are they going to put the debt? Now, we've already spoken about this. We spoke about this 6 months ago. Other channels are going to have to catch up to us because we are well ahead of the game. We've been talking about this for months and months and months. We've already spoke about it. I will go over it again, but we've already spoke about it. There's a video on the channel why Sir Jim can't afford to buy the stadium. Sir Jim could if he was a real fan. If Sir Jim was a real fan, and again, I would give him some credit. If Sir Jim decided to pay for the stadium himself, I would give him some credit. But how are we going to fund the stadium? So we're talking today about Tonali's, Bruno G's. I've seen all that again, and apparently, and we will touch on it again tonight because apparently Tonali was off this afternoon. He's back on tonight, in out, shake it all the fucking bout. but we will talk about that as well. So how do we fund this? And we will talk about all that good stuff as well. Harry says if it was Wembley, the government would pay for it. What shit show? All the government has to say is that we pay for the stadium and then we lease the stadium back to the club, ensuring a profit for the taxpayer. And look, Harry, yes, I agree, but the government cannot be seen to be propping up the Glazers. Here's my answer from the United fan. Also, the government is already one of the most hated governments in British history. I doubt a little bit of bad press is going to do much either. The government won't give them F all. Says Scott, I say F a new stadium, spend the $2 billion over the next 2 years on the transfers. Can't wait for the new stadium. Jim is doing a great job, says Grace. Grace is in the house. Give it up for Grace. What about actually fund the maintenance rather than spend $2 billion on a new stadium? Exactly, you're right about Sir Jim. He really wanted he could cement the legacy by paying for the stadium out of his own pocket. A new stadium, not to win anything, says Chad. And look, this is the perfect opportunity now. What we're going to see, okay, is this: those people who were talking about Sir Jim being a lifelong fan, and Sir Jim himself talking about being a lifelong fan of this club. Sir Jim, Jumpers. This is now your opportunity, sir. This is now opportunity, sir, to put your money where your fucking mouth is. And if you're a local lad King says a GoFundMe page, exactly. So Jim, if you are a local lad, as you if you profess to be, okay, how about you build your family a home? Simple as that. Simple as that. If you are a real local lad and you love this club and you support this club, go and build your club a home. What a better way, there is no better way to boost your ego. Imagine this: you've got a perfect opportunity to cement your legacy as a local lad, to build United a new stadium. I mean, I'm not being funny, that makes the hairs on my arm stand up. Because imagine if I had the money, imagine your lasting thing that you could do on this planet, and of course you'd give it to your kids, you'd give it to homeless people, you give it to dogs, but imagine the one thing that you do, that you leave, that's going to probably last for the next 100 years. You give the football team that you supported as a child, you build them a stadium. Sir Jim, money talks and bullshit walks. That is a great line from Twins, by the way. It's true. It's true, Jabs. Mate, you couldn't have summed it up any better if you tried. So for those Sir Jim sycophants tonight who support Sir Jim, INEOS, the Glazers, there is no excuse tonight. There is no excuse. Zero excuse tonight. Sir Jim, Jim lad, how about if you are truly here for the club, truly here to see what's best for the club, either build a stadium or renovate the current stadium. You've got the perfect opportunity, but do you know what? He won't do it. He won't do it. And Scott is 100% right. As we've spoken about on this channel, Sir Jim cannot afford to do that. As Scott says there, Jim won't use his own money. He will try to finance it through third parties and investors. And if he can try and pull the money together, he will sell up. Even if Jimmy was to say, I will pay for the stadium, but I will own it, lease it back to the club, I'll make money, I'll give him some credit. Well, do you know what? At least he'd try something, right? What's with all the begging, says Sue. Who's begging? Who's begging? I'm not begging. He won't. what? Okay, so Sue, are you? So I think Sue, and you can correct me wrong here, Sue. I think Sue's basically trying to tell me that because I'm asking the owner, the saviour of United, a self-professed saviour, Sue, of this club. And look, I apologise if I've misconstrued the comment, but I think what Sue is trying to basically say is, why am I asking the owner or the owners to fund a stadium, because R1 is leaking and R1 needs to be replaced? Sue, I would have thought that would have been pretty. I would have thought that would have been self-explanatory. If you're owned by something and somebody has a responsibility, Sue, would you? Why would the owners not? Why would you not ask your owners to build you a stadium? So according to Sue, we should just shut up and just not ask the owners to do something. What's the point in even asking them to buy players? Fuck it. You know what? Fuck it. We don't need a brand new stadium. Look, Sue's right. You know what? We don't need a stadium. Let's not be bothering Sir Jim. Come on. Look, I'm wrong. And I shouldn't be talking about this. I shouldn't be asking the owner, the local lad who's come in, stuck his nose in to the business that wasn't his, and asking him to please to fund a stadium. It's right. Fuck it. I'm totally wrong. I also think we don't need players. We don't need players. I reckon what we should just do is keep this shit squad and not add to it, and playing in our current leaky ground forevermore. Sue has nailed it. Sue has absolutely. Sue's just. So Jack says, we hate you, Arsenal. I do agree. I think she does need to give her head a wobble. And look, let's go into it. Let's talk about it again. I'll see if I can remember what I put together. Look, Scott's right. We don't have the money. Sir Jim doesn't have the money. Look, Ineos don't have the money. Sir Jim can't even keep his businesses afloat. As I've said last year, there's an arm of Ineos. Jonas says you'd be a good commentator. Thank you, my friend. Is that Sir Jim can't even keep his own house in order. So Sir Jim has borrowed, I think, 200 million quid for one of the businesses up in Scotland, because he refuses to pay it out of his own cash. Scott's right. He's lost millions. Ineos are currently in debt. I think they're worth £64 billion, and I think their debt is something like 20. Look, Sir Jim is not this ultra rich Elon Musk type. For Jim to go and buy the stadium, he would have to liquidate his assets. He's not going to do that. Billionaires don't become billionaires because they spend their money. As Scott says there, what he could do is he could maybe pay part cash, which I don't think that he will. But do you know what he's going to do, guys? He will literally leverage the debt. And where is he going to leverage the debt? Sky is in the house. Where is he going to leverage this debt? And this is the whole point tonight. Our debt is already at £1.3 billion. Where are they going to leverage that debt? Are they really going to get £2 billion worth of investments? As Scott said, Jim would have to go liquid and won't do that because of all the paper money in stocks and shares. Exactly, Scott. Scott is on it tonight. Scott is absolutely on it tonight. It's true. Look, he's not going to liquidate his assets. He's not going to do that. So how are we going to fund the stadium. They're going to fund the stadium by part investment. And I pretty much guarantee that they're going to leverage a chunk of this against the club. As we said months and months and months ago, one of my biggest fears, and what we spoke about on here, Chad says Beckham should have just bought the club, is that we're going to leverage the debt against this club. And Scott says Champers, he's going to set Champers. I just do not have the words. So how we do this, how he does this, scares me. Scott says he can sell his Champers. Beckham doesn't have the money to buy the club. Now look, and again, let's go through the details of the stadium. So it's going to be 100,000 seater stadium. And this for me is the bit that gets me. So it's going to be 100,000 seater stadium built next to Old Trafford. So not only are we going to and apparently we'd have to move the stadium. They're going to build it right next to it. Apparently the goal is going to be the Wembley of the North, as we all know. That's a pile of bollocks. Now the land is going to take. Now we were told, I believe, it was going to be built somewhere 2031, 32. Somebody can correct me there. The build time is going to be, look, the build and the land prep and the construction and the funding, and this is key now. This is key. Let's have a look. James is saying only other way outside investors is for a percentage of the club. Exactly. Who's going to purchase the club next? It's gonna have to be somebody with money. There's only about 15 to 20 people in the world who could buy the club, wipe the debt, and invest the money to get new players in. Exactly that. Now, this part is key. So we can talk about the 100,000 seats, fine. We can talk about the Wembley of the North. Now, look, when we look at the next 2 points, the first point is that looking for the funding sources. Jack O'Connell is in the house. I hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. We're talking about funding, right? Now, the build time, the planning, the prep, the funding time looks like it is going to take at least 1 to 2 years. And this is why the Glazers were crawling on their hands and knees, snivelling around in the summer, when they went to Qatar, when they did all this stuff, is because, and again, this infuriates me. You've got two people, the Glazers, obviously they are a family, but these two guys now own it. They are billionaires, and they're going cap in hand, begging across the world because they don't want to put a single penny into this club. You've got these two cretinous, slug, awful people who, instead of wanting to build a stadium for fans that have funded their fucking lifestyle for the last 20 years, instead of them looking to buy a stadium, you've got billionaires, and bearing in mind Joel now wants to go buy an Indian cricket team as well. You've got these billionaires who, instead of wanting to spend their own money on this cash, bearing in mind the amount of money that they've made, they would rather go begging around the world, get other people to pay for them rather than they put their hand in their own pocket. It is an utter disgrace. These are the owners of this club who would rather, instead of partly backing this themselves to get it over the line, and I completely agree that £2 billion is a large sum of cash. Even if you're a billionaire, paying for it is difficult, right? Because they don't carry cash. You know, it's difficult. You know, when you're a billionaire, you don't carry that sort of cash around with you. But rather than that, these awful, horrible, disgusting people are going round begging and pleading. It's like your next door neighbour, right? He's got a massive house, Porsche in the drive, earns loads and loads of money, coming round and asking you for some sugar because they've run out of sugar, but you know they just can't be bothered to spend their money. So what they're doing is that they're going to keep their money because it's their money, and they're going around the world begging with a begging bowl, begging people to pay for their stadium. It is disgusting. It is disgusting. So not only is that now going, so for those of you who want the stadium, so not only is that going to elongate the time frame, it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years to build. So this 2031 2 is going to end up being 2035. So this whole, so when the Glazers shit the bed because they thought the protests were about to happen, right? And they put out this rush stadium build, and it was going to be out in 2031 or 2. Lies. They've been exposed again. They've been exposed, and they lie to us again and again and again. And they've done it again. It's been exposed. The lies have been exposed again. The stadium is nowhere near being built. The stadium is nowhere near being there. Even their time frame was a lie, and they'll just hide behind, oh, it was just an estimation. It's just abysmal. There is no other word for this. It's absolutely abysmal. And then look, we'll go through the other points as well. I'll go through the chat, and then we'll go through some of the other points as well. You guys are on it tonight, loving it already. We need to take over badly. Yes, I do agree with you that yes, we do, says John. Jonas says Saudis and Emirates are very good with their money. I hope so. John says more debt on the club. Yeah, I'm not sure if you remember the reveal video on the stadium. Build time can actually be quick. They are fabricating it and piecing it together section. And yeah, look, I saw that, but they still have, but they still have to find the funding. They've still got to prepare the land. They've still got to provide the funding, as Scott has said, and we'll come that as well. They've still got to acquire the land, but we'll come on to that as well, because there is land that they need to acquire as well. But look, you are right, but the company who are currently looking to build that are a couple of years away, because I believe they're building the San Siro. Get Elon to buy some, we can get sponsored by SpaceX and Tesla. I've got to go home from work. I'll be back soon. Saudis and Emirates are good with money. It's disgusting our club has been left to rot whilst the Glazers have leached money out of the club. Exactly. I agree with you. They won't sell the club unless someone buys it at their value. Neil, I don't disagree with you, Neil. What they'll do is they'll lump debt onto the club. They will lump debt onto this club. They don't care. They don't care. They absolutely don't care. 2 billion is a money for billionaires, but they had that lad from Saudi and to Elon is pocket change. Chaznak says, sorry for my English, what are you thinking about Trent not in the England squad, potential on the Worlds? Look, I'm not English. I am Welsh. I do have a passing interest. I think he's right. I think he's right that Trent's not there. I do. I don't think Trent has been good enough. I think Trent has been injured. I think Trent has pissed off the England coach. Sometimes the grass isn't greener on the, so Trent has clearly made a bad. Whoever advised Trent, I would sack him. I would. I would say, well, yes, because their money is their money, and the club's money is our money. More debt onto the club. So Jim's been quiet. I do have my theories on that. I'm not going to lie. Big Fast says American owners are always tripping. Jeff says 2 seasons now that United haven't won 5 league games in a row. Biggest club in the world. My arse. Look, Jeff makes a good point. Jeff makes a good point. Jeff makes a good point. A very good night, all. Good night. Look, Jeff Brown makes a good point. John says, I hope the truck companies say no to INEOS. Amir says, hi, hello Amir. You're Welsh, says Harry. I'm Welsh. I am Welsh for my sins. Leave the bin dippers, yes. And we still get third. United will win the league. United will win the league, and I'll remove one of my balls. I'd rather you didn't. Please don't do that. Just please don't do that. Please don't do that. So look, what are the major issues? Harry says, we're in Wales. I'm originally from Swansea. I'm a West Walian. I've not lived there now for quite some time, but I am originally from Swansea. You don't sound Welsh. I don't know whether this is a compliment or an insult, but I said it. Look, Harry, I've not lived in Wales for a long time. My accent has long gone. I haven't lived in Wales for 27 years. So yeah, I am. Yeah. Take me to football team. I'm Indonesia, and I also like you. United. Thank you, buddy. I want to have one. Oh my god. Oh, I love it. It's just it's oh wow. I'll donate a kidney if United win the league, and I only have one left. Yeah, Jeff. Definitely do not do that, my friend. You're English now. You were, Harry. Pretty much. I am more English than Welsh, but the old Welsh roots. Like the only reason I probably still class myself as Welsh is because it all comes back to the football, right? I remember watching the Welsh games. I remember watching Ian Rush, Mark Hughes, Speed, Giggsy, and once you've given your heart to a team, that's it. I remember. Matt says, I'm originally from North Wales. The Welshies are in the house. The only reason JB says he's Welsh is because of the sheep. Look, don't knock it until you've tried it. That sounds wrong. So look, what are the major issues? So major issues. There's a land issue. What do you think about United now? Can they qualify for the Champions League? Clan. I don't know where that is actually. You can always tell somebody who's Welsh if they can pronounce that. That's how you know that someone's Welsh. What do I think about the Champions League? I'm from Nigeria, Snowdonia. Oh, I've actually never been to Snowdonia. Do I think we'll qualify for the Champions League? Yes, I do. Jesus Christ! Chill. Look, we all know that you like your own parts. Chill, relax. So look, what are the major issues? So there's land acquisition. The freight line is blocking it. Jimmy says, "Well, you should go in." never been. It's a place I've always wanted to go. Wanted so hopefully, I will go. I want to do Snowdonia. Yeah, I do. I'm a Liverpool fan. Look, Matthew, there's nothing wrong with being a Liverpool fan, my friend. Look, I value the support. It doesn't matter really who you support on here. Look, we are a fan channel, but at our heart, we are just a community of fans. I'd love to see Everton qualify for the Champions League, says Jeff. Can you speak Indonesian? No. What do you think of Mo Salah leaving at the end of the season? I think it's probably about time. I think it's about time. I think you can see. I think it's sad. It's. I think Salah is one of those players that it is. For me, if I was a Liverpool fan, it would be the signal, the end of the Klopp era. It would be a signal for me. You know, he was really part of that Klopp era. You know, Salah, one of the best Premier League winners of all time. I think it's an end of an era. You know, as much as he played and he contributed to the league titles. One of the league's best players. One of the league's best modern players. 100%. I think it's a sad day. I do. I think he's leaving in a good way. I think that the way that he's going to leave, I think it is the correct way. I think it's the correct age. And I think he's going to leave in a fashion that a legend should. I do. I think he should absolutely leave in a manner that he deserves to leave. So I think it's sad for the Premier League, but I think Scott's right. I think he is done. I think he is done. Did you watch football in the 90s? I still feel a bit disrespected after that comment, to be honest. I thought that was a chill channel where everyone can have their opinions. Look, mate, people can have their opinions. Just because I don't agree with something, Dario, doesn't mean it's a disrespected after that comment, mate. People have their comments. I give you a platform. I challenge you, Dario. I challenge you to go to any other channel, right, where somebody will read out your chat and interact. Whether or not we agree, and look, I apologize if I offended you. Okay, it's never my intention to offend you, and depending on the comment type, I am allowed to come back because this isn't free. And well, this is free to you. It's not free for my time. And sometimes I will come back on it. But I challenge you to go to any other channel and without having to pay for it, interact. I guarantee there is not many channels whereby you've got a community that will interact and you've got a host. What did Klopp actually win, says Harry? Yeah. I'll let you guys get into that stuff. Look, should Klopp have won more? Yes. I think the only thing that stopped Klopp from winning was a prime Man City and Pep. Colin says the Aviva Stadium and Crome Park in Dublin both have rail lines beside them. When they were rebuilt, the Dart lines run under the Aviva stands. Yes, but the difference is that United don't own the land. So the difference is, and yes, whilst I completely agree, the only way that they can do what they need to do is basically sell it, because what United, because they're greedy, what they're planning on doing is they're planning on building homes around there. So what they're planning to do is that they're not planning to run in conjunction with a train line. They want the land because they're going to sell the land. They're going to build 16,000 new homes, and the plan is to sell those homes. So if this was a case of, making sure that there was a train line there because it was going to be used, that's not their plan. Their plan is they want to basically own everything around there because it's going to be worth billions. Do you know many Indonesian fans who like United have a nickname? King Emir used the term. Well, I did not know that. Would you prefer this summer Tonali or Bruno G? Tonali for me. The reason I would bring in Tonali, is because he's younger. I'd bring in Tonali because he's younger. I just prefer Tonali. The comparison between Rude. Look, we're going to disagree with you. Look, I don't think that Erling Haaland and Ruud van Nistelrooy are alike. I think they're alike in terms of they are strikers. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy had more to his game. I think Ruud had more to his game than like a Haaland. And the reason why I asked you your age is because I don't think if anybody watched Ruud van Nistelrooy during that time, they would would have a serious conversation about comparing the two. Look, if that's offended you, then I apologise. But I can assure you, I've probably said worse things to many people. If results improve, says Billy, but performances don't, would you still call it progress? The thing is, Billy, the thing is that I wouldn't, because if we go to next season and the performances don't, we will not get away with this season next season. The reason why the performances have to improve is because we can't be blinkered. Well, we can be, but we can't be blinkered because we're going to be playing in the Premier League. We're going to be playing in the Carabao Cup. We're going to be playing in the Champions League. Look, we're not going to be prime every single week, right? That's a fact. There are certain flags that we need to address. We need to address starting fast. We need to address why we look so tired. We need to address our squad that's very, very thin. We're not going to play this, I'm not expecting this every single week. Like Fernandez is going to be this 9 out of 10 every single week. I'm not expecting Luke Shaw to be, 7 out of 10 every week. Like that's not like how it works. But there has to be levels. There has to be an overall improvement of our patterns of play. Like we are counter-attack FC. What I want to see is I want to see not counter-attack. If we play a version of that, I want to see actual proper counter-attacking. I want to see a proper number 6 and number 8. We're not going to be the best all of the time, but we have to have both, because if we go into next season and our performances don't improve, then the results will drop as well. I appreciate that, mate. I'm off. Anyway, have a good evening. Okay. Okay, I'll let you guys do that. Ron says, if Casemiro stays, what's your opinion about that? So look, Ron, I've said this, whilst many others have been saying that Casemiro is going to leave, including Fabrizio. I've said that I've been told that they've asked they've asked Casemiro to hold fire, and look, can you hold off? Look, Casemiro is probably going to leave, but they've asked him just to hold fire. Now, if Casemiro stays, it's going to terrify me, because I think if Casemiro stays, Casemiro is going to be one of our starting players. Casemiro at nearly 35 next season can't be our starting number 6. I don't mind Casemiro. If we've got Casemiro on 120k a week and he's not our starting number 6 and he's on the bench and he's there, because we've got to have experience. That's the one thing in this team that we lack. As long as Casemiro is not a starter, as long as Casemiro is one of the squad, we could do with that. I've got no problem. You look at the likes of Pirlo, and I'm not suggesting that he's a Pirlo, right? But if you look at those experienced players like De Bruyne, who's gone to the Italian league. What is he? 34. Pirlo's. You got those sorts of older midfield players who, towards the end, don't necessarily play as much, but they add in that experience. Yes, I'd keep him for that, but I wouldn't keep him if he's going to be a starter on 200k a week. No. Harry says, let's have a look. You guys do that. Okay. Could Lukaku be an option? Not for me. To be honest with you, I'd completely forgotten about Lukaku. Not for me. Kieran Legend says, good evening. I hope you are well, UTV. Yes, we're doing extremely well, buddy. I am. This is my biggest worry next season is the squad depth. I can already see it being our Achilles heel. Our starting 11 might be great, but that's not going to cut it. Exactly. Luke Green says Lukaku is dog shit. And is. Appreciate for answering my question. I will always try to answer questions, my friend. It's great to finally be here. Henderson Legend. I love the opening, buddy. Armada Traore down the flank. Not for me, mate. Look, we've got to be aiming higher. Look, we've got to be aiming higher. If we're as a community, we're talking about pushing for a league title. I'm not. But I've heard people talking about pushing for a league title, pushing for the Champions League. Amada Traore, Lukaku, look, if we go for those, we might as well be Burnley FC. And that's no disrespect to Burnley, by the way. I get that. Name 3 clear signs that show United are improving structurally and not form in results. I actually think we've gone backwards. I actually think from a structural and people will not agree with this, and maybe this is a hot take, as that seems to be the new word. I think from a structural perspective, I think we've gotten worse. I think we were better structurally under Amorim. And I'm not talking about how we necessarily played. I'm talking about from a structural perspective. I think that we were better under an Amorim. I actually think that we've got worse. I think from an attacking perspective, I think we've probably got slightly better, but that is because that we are playing counter attack. We are playing counter attack FC. I think we've got better at that. But structurally, I think we've got worse. I think our results are better. I think from a structural perspective, I actually think we've got worse. Nice jersey, but go Paris. Thank you, my friend. Chad says 3 clear signs we're improving. Bruno is the main man. Bruno's up for player of the season. And lastly, Bruno is rated the best midfielder in the world. Did that happen under Rubin? Chad, again, mate, that is a I would argue that, look, the reason why I struggle to answer that is because those are not 3 signs that we're improving. I for me, those are 3 signs, Chad, that we're getting worse. The the moment that Bruno Fernandes becomes the man in this team, is that we're doing worse. I think I will always clash with many people in this. Again, I respect people's views and opinions on him, but those signs for me when Bruno Fernandes hasn't been playing that well, by the way. He's got his stats, he's got his goals and assists. Doesn't mean he's playing well. That for me is a sign of when that happens, it means we've lost all structure as a team. Salah's leaving. Yes, he is. Bruno, the main man. That's made my night, says Luke Green. Yeah. May I ask the trainers and boots in the background? Are they yours? Are they yours? Display only? Nope. They are thoroughly used, my friend. Kieran, those are my. Yeah, I run quite a lot. I'm actually going to do I'm actually doing in May. I'm actually going to do an ultra marathon. I'm doing 100k. I haven't done a lot of events in the last year. But yeah, I've run marathons, 100ks, 5ks, 10ks. I've run quite a bit, mate. They've been worn. I've got shoes over there, I've got shoes down there, I've got shoes over there. Yep. Kieran says, not my team, but I do like this channel. Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, buddy. See you later, Harry. Water is poison. My brother drank it. Our players drink it. My brother drank it and died from it. Okay. Let's leave the Bruno talk out of this tonight. Salah leaving. What's your opinion? Look, I think it's time. No, Salah has nothing to. He can leave the Premier League as one of his best ever players. He can leave the club as one of his best ever players as well. I think it's his time. I think he knows. I think he knows he's not the player that he was, so he might as well go and enjoy his life. Luke, Bruno Ratatouille is cooking. F me. An ultra marathon. My daughter run a 20-miler at the weekend. I thought that was enough. She does the Stratford upon Avon in 4 weeks. Look, Kieran, big up to her. I know how hard it is. So look, Kieran, good luck to her. I do hope that she smashes it, because I know how hard it is. So look, big up to Kieran's daughter. Selwyn is in the house, legend. Thanks, John. I would love to sign Gameres, Wharton, Elliott, Gomez for the midfield. Home now, says Sky. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. No problem. Chris says, I think it's your time to leave. Chris, mate, Chris, I think it's your time to leave the channel, Chris. The best thing about this channel, and I know Scott has smashed out the banner hammer there. The best thing about this is that it is completely free to you guys. It is completely free. And if there are people on here that don't want to be here, guess what? Just don't waste your time. Your time is you can't get your time back. Just do not waste your time on me. If I'm not somebody that you like, the channel isn't, do not waste your time, because you could be doing things like, you could be, I don't know, you could be out there in a park late at night. You could be, walking against a brick wall. Lots of really interesting things. You could be watching paint dry. Herbie's in the house. Evening, JB. Enduring this boring international bollocks. Exactly. Mason Greenwood would be a good signing in my eyes. Look, it's sad with him. It really is sad. It really is sad. But somebody should go sign him. Someone says we need a left back, right back, centre back, left wing, and a striker. If we can pull Gomes, Wharton, Elliott, Gomez, our midfield is sorted. I've given Liverpool credit for handling the Salah situation. When he spoke out to the media, I don't think United would have had the maturity to keep him at the club after that. No, agree, Jeff. Agree completely. Kieran says, right, last question. Do United finish higher than Villa? I'm thinking yes, but it will be close. Villa played well on Sunday. Ooh, I think, Kieran, Villa are still in the Europa, aren't they? I think we might pip it because Villa are in Europa. If Villa get knocked out, I think they might have a chance, but I think we could sneak it because Villa are in the Europa League. Chad says, how much of a female footballer are even into men? Chad, mate, that is a loaded question, buddy. Chad, that is a mate. That Chad, mate. Again, look, I'm not calling out the question, mate. That is a loaded question. Or the only thing I'm going to say on that, Chad, is this: I'm a father to 3 girls, right? I've got 3 girls, 2 of whom are in their teens, and one of them is small, right? All I'm going to say is I'm not going to get into the whys and the wherefores, and I'm going to say this: the alleged things that happened, it's been proved not proved, but in the eyes of the law, innocence is there, right? But as a father of 3 girls, all I'm saying, and this is not because I'm trying to be this tough guy, blah, 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 but if that was my daughter, and I'd have heard that, and we all heard the things that we heard, fine, he would not be walking. He would not be playing. So I can only say this from a father's perspective, is this: if I'm a dad of a female, and it doesn't matter whether they play football or not, he's innocent in terms of the eyes of the law, I say good luck to you, sir. Go and take this opportunity with both hands. Go and learn from this and go and ply your trade elsewhere. There are bigger things here than whether women like guys or not. It goes beyond that. So that's what I'm going to say on that. I completely understand. From my perspective, I don't know. I'd struggle to watch United if he played. Wouldn't mean I wouldn't support the club. I don't know if I would be able to watch games with him playing. And that's a personal choice. That's a personal choice. So someone says, I don't know who we're going to target for the other positions. We definitely need a big season. Billy said, off to bed, lads. Early start tomorrow. Another great live. As always, mods do a grand job. Always. Thank you, Billy. Absolute legend. Liam is in the house. JB, can you make my name blue again, please? I'm not quite sure why you... Not quite... Oh, that's because you changed it. Oh, that's because it's in your account, isn't it? That's why. That's why. There you go. You have the power. Chad says they're married now. And look, Chad, and look, this is look, Chad. This is look. this is what makes it so difficult, right? I'm not going to say too much more on it because look, the whole incident. I think the whole thing is bigger than me. All I'm saying is it doesn't matter to me whether they are or they're not. What I'm saying is that I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable. It doesn't make it okay. But look, if it is a personal choice, I would not call somebody out for supporting it. If people wanted that, to happen, and it happened, personal choice would be that I would struggle to watch games, and if I did watch games, I wouldn't celebrate his goals. And I'm just going to say that from the start. Well, I'm off to bed. Good to see you again. I will subscribe because I enjoy the banter. Just don't tell Max Villa on Tour channel, mate. Good night, Kieran. Absolute legend, buddy. I have 3 girls and 1 lad, says Kieran. Legend. Have parents actually defended him? Yeah, well. Seen the club interview with Colette Roach today. Looks like they are progressing on the stadium. Will be gutted to see the ball dozes in. I'll put him in my FIFA team. Look, JB doesn't need natural medicine. So look, yeah. So stadium build. So look, tonight, as Liam I said there, look, I just don't see tonight, and again, I think this will get missed. I think people will glaze over it. Look, I don't see how we fund the transfer window. I really don't. I really don't. If this is true, United needs to come out and make a statement about how they're going to fund the stadium, because I just don't see it. I just don't see it. How we fund these players, and we are going for the next couple of weeks, the next 2-3 weeks, and look, I will cover the window. I will cover the shows. I will know. John knows I don't do. Exactly, Selwyn. Exactly, Chad. It is going to be that. But look, I will be doing some shows. The shows I will do. I'm not going to do one every single day just because I'm not going to spam you guys. I know YouTube. The way to win on here is you've got to spam people, right? You've got to spam this. I'm not going to do that. But look, if there is anything that does break, that is not to do with Anderson, Tonali being on, Tonali being off, Bruno G, anything else. If there's anything else other than those 2 things, then I will come back on, but I will do a roundup show. I probably will look to do an evening roundup show or some sort of show, because look, there is not enough stuff out there to make 3 fucking shows a day. It's just absolute bullshit. John, I got one for you on a day. Can you give me your details so I can arrange a custom bush racket with your insignia on it? Yes, mate. Could be worse. You could support the mighty Derby. United, Manchester is blue. United fell off 10 years ago. Yeah, we did. JB, if anyone should stream every day, it's you, good self. Thank you, my friend. That's Chad. I will try my best. I will find some things to talk about. And they're not going to be all to do with fucking transfers because it is going to be boring as shit. But I will find some stuff to talk about. Jeb says it's going to be a long 3 weeks. As long as you guys, Mitch is in the house, as long as you guys are prepared for Tonali's on, Tonali's off, Tonali's in, Tonali's out. Cole Palmer, I guarantee Cole Palmer tomorrow will be the talk of conversation. That it's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. So look, guys, I'm going to go. Look, fantastic show again tonight. Look, I tried to do something different. I tried to bring in different things that I think are important. I know people love all the transfer stuff, but there's only so many times that I can say the one person's name over and over again, and it is not for me. Herbie says, I do like everyone here is we are real. And look, guys, look, Herbie's right. Look, this channel is a compliment to you guys. JB, I am almost 1 a.m. I know my favourite. What about after Eminem? Thanks, buddy. And go on the pitch with George Best. Selwyn, legend, mate. You're an absolute legend, my friend. We've got fixtures and international games. I will try to do a football show. I will try to watch a game. I'll try and find an interesting game, and we can watch that. Thank you, Jabs. Absolute legend. We need a right-footed, versatile wide player like a Dorgu. Maybe we'll get a Dorgu back. Mitch says, bye. That was short. Selwyn, keep well, bruv. Have a good night. Selwyn, legend. Scott says, look, guys, I will be back. I'm planning to be back every day. I will be back tomorrow. I'll do some sort of show tomorrow around 2ish, I think, and then we'll see. I'll see what's about, but I'll do a show tomorrow. But look, guys, thank you for watching. You guys are legends. Thank you for supporting the channel as you always do. Look, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.